Hi friends, in my recent video I have noticed a comment left by one of my valuable viewer that as all my videos they revolve around the English language and I have been suggested that I must use either Hindi or Punjabi along with it so that it becomes easier for the viewers to understand it. The video you are going to follow just now, it was made a day back, so this video would go this way only, but in my forthcoming videos I would definitely take care of it. Thank you. Thanks for your suggestions. Everyone suggests start thinking in English. When we are now working on our communication skill or we are working on learning English, then trying to speak in English, so everybody gives the same kind of suggestion that if you want to excel, if you want to expedite, if you want to speed it up, it is better that you start thinking in English, because this is probably the reason that when we try to converse, and because we are the beginners or we are at the intermediate level, at both the levels we juggle with the similar kind of situations, like we try to speak but the word doesn't come in mind at that very moment, or it takes some time to recall that word, and in the meantime you can say whatever happens, that is taking pauses or doing fumbling, etc, etc, etc. So I have also gone through various videos like you people do, because I also want to come up with some instant kind of solution to this problem, or the workable solution for it. So after going through these videos and seeing its practicability, and then of course along with it there comes your individual efforts and individual capabilities, they also play a very important role. Then I have figured out something, that how can we make it happen that we start thinking in English? We must think that why we can't think in English. Reason is obvious, because when we learn, because English is not our first language, and I believe that in throughout the globe, wherever English is not the first language, and at whatever stage a student is made to learn English, I think that always begins with the translation, like English to the regional language and the regional or the native language to English. This way only, because before knowing English, we know our own language, may it be the regional language, may it be our native language. English is not first language, so whenever English will come, it would be at number 2. So when this number 2 would come, there is something already at number 1. So it means whenever we would start thinking, number 1, the regional or local languages, they would come first. So maybe this is a problem, that it doesn't sound or seems so easier for us, that whenever it is said that you start thinking in English, and we find it very difficult. So let's come out to some solution to it, or way out, that how can we make it happen. I would suggest rather that the first important thing is that you familiarize yourself, everything around you, and start learning all these things in English. Very simple. If I say, what is this? You would say, this is apple. You won't say like in Punjabi or Hindi, it is seb. Everybody would say, it's apple. And what is this? This is mango. How could this happen? Because we have come up to this level after learning it consciously during our initial stages of learning this language. Remember when you and me, we were in the school and we were to make this English learn. So A always came with A for apple kind of thing. So that way, since then we have been practicing it. Now it has you can say become embedded inside in such a way, or to that an extent, that we never give it a thought. Once anybody asks what is this, we would say this is apple. It is exactly like learning a bicycle. Once you have learned bicycle, after that you don't try to focus on when to apply the brakes and when to do the pedaling. Automatically it becomes an instinct for you. So it means we are to reach at that level. But before that, we should be familiar with the names of everything around us. So it is exactly the way if you have small kids, if you are making them learn, your small brothers and sisters. Now this stuff is available in the market, at the stationery shops. There are available charts, like charts of birds and animals, kinds of things. But we are not going, I don't suggest you that you come up to that level and that you go to the stationery shop and buy that kind of stuff. Simply, initially take some time, and whatever actually you are to encounter in your real life, like if you are in the kitchen, you should be familiar with all the articles related to kitchen. You are in the living room, so just look around and start naming them, or ask somebody if you are not familiar with the name. Similarly, if you are in the bedroom, you should be familiar with all the things initially. This is the initial stage, because once we start learning this way, then initially it would be slower, then it will become fast, and at some stage automatically it will become a part of our personality, that whatever we would see around, we would try to find its English name, that what is it, this thing called in English. So this is the first thing which is very important, because this is the first step, and to make sentences is the second step. So to reach at the second step, this first step is very important. It's not going to happen, or it's not an easier thing to just step on the second step without taking the first step. I think you got the crux of this whole thing. So once you are done with it, suppose this is a shirt. This is a shirt. Initially you learn the words this way. After that you start, you can say, remembering, recalling what another word makes a combination with this word. Like you may call it as collocations, chunks. Then start learning in chunks, like hot tea, hot soup. This is a grey shirt. So see how one word makes a combination with another word. So it may, the chunks may consist of then 2 words or 3 words. So it means you started your journey from one word. Now you have come up to the level of 2 words or 3 words in one go. After doing this exercise for some time, because it again depends that how much time you devote and how much already you learn, already you are aware of. Then next thing is, now I would say start framing the sentences. Another thing, more basic thing. Suppose when we are speaking, we are trying to speak with somebody, and we miss out on something, like the word is, exact word is not coming in our mind. Try to, why not to rephrase it? Like a number of times you might have noticed that when exact word doesn't come in our mind, we try to fill this gap with some other words, speaking from here and there, and trying to make the meaning clear to that person, and number of times we succeed in doing that. You might have played in your childhood that game, one game I remember, that is dumb shots, if you remember that, where one person doesn't speak, just enacts, make the actions. These actions are of some phrase, and the person on the other side then tries to guess that what this exact word is. Dumb shots. We used to play this kind of game in our childhood. So from here, why I am quoting this example, that you are not going to play this game, but just considering that example in your mind, you try to rephrase that. You don't know the exact word, but try to use some other word so that your meaning, you reach near to the actual meaning, what you want to convey. This is another thing. So first is try to learn everything around you, the names. And second, keep on, I won't say don't speak and don't try to speak in English. You keep on doing with that thing also parallel to it and rephrase. Then another thing, now when you are rephrasing, of course you are making sentences. So initially you begin with the very simple sentences by the uses of very simple words. And it hardly matters if you make grammatical errors. Grammar is not important initially. The thing which is important initially is that is the names, what you want to convey. So make smaller sentences and use very simple words. Do it that way. I would suggest go that way only. So once you start practicing this way, I guess that slowly and slowly you would pick up the pace, and then parallel to it you can begin with the grammar. Of course, many of us or many of you know grammar to a greater extent, not a smaller extent. But the thing is, we are facing this problem because we don't use it. So then, of course, most of the people around us, they also convince that you read a lot. Of course, if you are in a habit of reading and if you can go along with it, do it, because by doing so, we get to know so many vocabulary words. And but try to use them also, because there is no fun of it that you have come across so many fancy words and you have noted them down also in your notebook, but if you are not using it, in spite of, or you may say, if I have to give some upper edge as compared to reading, I would give it to listening, because I feel that speaking and listening, that came first, reading came afterward, if we just go back to the evolution of the man and the speech and everything also. So by listening, again, when we listen to somebody, vocabulary again comes. You note down the words, somebody when in context to some situation that word is spoken. So in the similar way, you can note down that vocabulary word. And what another advantage of listening is that you get to know that how this word is pronounced, the pronunciation of that word, that how this word is used. So if we do reading, there is only one benefit, that we get to know the vocabulary word. But if we give preference to listening, then it gives us double advantage, that of course vocabulary word, then parallel to it the pronunciation, and the third most important thing which I find more workable in my case is that you need not to sit, you need not to fix up yourself at some place. Even I can listen and you can listen while moving here and there or driving your vehicle also. So that way I find listening more convenient. So I think if we start doing this way and do all the things parallel to each other, like if you are not knowing the words, try to know the words, then try to speak, make simple sentences, and then start speaking in the chunks or learning in chunks. So this is the initial phase. Problem always comes in the initial phase. Once you overcome this stage, you are done with it, then there is no issue, no problem, and there is no limit. So just go ahead with it.